What's the topic today?
The topic on this fine day is
Resident Evil.
the popular survival horror series by the developer known as Capcom. How do you feel about Resident Evil?
So when Resident Evil first came out, I'll never forget this moment as long as I live. I went over to my cousin's house, and my older brother and my cousin were playing Resident Evil 1. And they're at the part where you walk around the corner, and it's that iconic where the zombie turns and looks.
Hell yeah.
And I peeked my head down the stairs as soon as that happened.
Yeah.
And it scared me so bad. And I've been a fan ever since.
I've never really thought of any of the games as scary. I think I played them too late in life to actually be scared by them, because really to me they're just goofy. Like Resident Evil at its peak to me is when it's at its goofiest, which is actually like why I kind of like the tone of like Resident Evil 7 and 8, because I think they hit it out of the park in terms of just like the sheer goofiness of it all. Like for example, in Resident Evil 8, there's the I don't know, do you know if I named off a section from 8, would you know it? Like the Benefinito, I think that's how it's called. There was like nothing like that.
Right.
In RE1, 2, or 3. It's
that was
all,
scary.
all gameplay. And whereas the newer games like kind of focus more on like set piece stuff, and they actually try to like spook you. But like unlike the other games, like RE, the earlier RE games are all about replayability. They're all about playing it again, knowing the route, and I think the earlier games really like nail that and like make that fun to do. Whereas like replaying RE7 and 8 is just
Horrible,
awful.
yeah,
it's terrible.
bad.
Which, you know, it's not like I don't think all games need to be like infinitely replayable, but like I think 7's Madhouse difficulty. Did you play that at all?
Yeah.
Madhouse is sick.
Yeah, it's good.
Because it rearranges every single enemy encounter in the game, which is like, and they've done that a lot of times throughout the series. Like in RE1 original, you know that famous dog hallway where the dogs jump out.
Yeah, the dogs jump out a lot, apparently.
Yeah, in the first game, the first time you go down that hallway, the dogs like immediately jump out.
Yeah.
And then in Resident Evil Remake, the first time you go down that hallway, you just hear it's this complete silence, and then you hear a window crack.
Right.
And it's perfect.
And you're expecting it, and it just doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. But then on the return trip, then they hit you with the dogs.
Yep.
And that's just video game magic to me.
So I remember like I played all of them right when they came out on PlayStation. And then 4 kind of changed the prescription up a little bit. We didn't have a GameCube, so we had to wait for it to be ported to PS2.
Nice. Did you not like it at first, or were you on board?
I didn't. But I think as I played more of it, it kind of became one of my favorites of the series. I'm like, well, this is awesome. This is great.
I think either, Remake and RE4 to me are just
those
the
are
peak.
like probably my 2 favorites.
Yeah, because Resident Evil Remake, it's just haunted mansion porn, and then Resident Evil 4, it's just a really, really good action game with really memorable cutscenes that just will forever be entertaining.
You're small time.
No. Arrive in my cage of torment, my friend.
As far as 1 versus remake of 1 go, did you miss the over-the-top cheesy dialogue that the original 1 had?
Yeah, I definitely did. I think they should have just
like
kept
the
dialogue.
Jill sandwich.
They
Look
should
at
have just
those
kept
monsters, all those classics.
It's brilliant. They changed it all in Remake, but it's still shit. I think they were just looking at lines from the original and they were like, okay, how do we improve this? I was just racist.
As long as you don't mean it, it's good. You're not even white, so it's not like you can get in trouble.
What do you mean I'm not even white?
Aren't you like gray? Aren't you like brown gray?
Am I gray? They basically just improved the translation. I think the original script, they didn't like completely change it because all the scenes basically are the exact same.
When the first one came out, it was made and the dialogue was done in Japan. So they literally found people that spoke English and brought them in to do the dialogue. They were not voice actors. They just, can you read English sentences? And that was, you got the job. You're perfect.
Right. I forgot about that.
I don't know what happened.
Barry! Where's Barry?
Well, I'm sorry, but he's probably...
No.
If you what did you think that Resident Evil 2 really improved upon over 1?
I felt when Resident Evil 2 came out that the story was more structured.
That's true.
I thought that the voice acting was a step in the better direction.
Sure.
There were new enemies that I liked.
Lickers
Lickers were
are
new.
iconic. See, that's my problem with RE2. Is I feel like it's just lickers. Like spiders were nothing.
No.
Plant guys were
You
nothing.
don't have to shoot plants. You don't even have to shoot spiders if you don't want to.
The entire sewer section in RE2 is just like do that gator set piece, and then it's just a cutscene. And it sucks too because in most versions of Resident Evil 2, you can't skip cutscenes, so you have to watch it every time.
Right.
What did you feel about the lab?
I liked the lab. It's not as good as the police station. It's
too
kind
small
of
for me.
cool how it's quick. It's like Ada dies. I thought that was shocking. This whole like the way that Leon reacts is so over.
Leon in RE2
You've
is
known
fantastic.
her for about an hour and
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Resident Evil is at its best when you have a lot of keys and you have a lot of doors. That's Resident Evil at its purest form. And RE1 and Resident Evil Remake just knocked that aspect out of the park. There's one key in both RE1 and Remake that only open like 1 to 2 doors, and then the other 3 keys open 5 doors.
Right.
So you have all these keys you have to find. You have all these doors to unlock on all of these, and it's like the mansion, the way it loops around, it feels like a truly like non-linear sandbox. And there's a lot of creativity involved in like deciding which key and which door to go for first. Whereas in RE2, it's like I don't really feel like I'm making any decisions on where to go because it's already kind of a lot more linear, and it just feels a lot. The RPD compared to the mansion feels a lot smaller, and it feels a lot more like strict.
Yeah.
And then RE3 came out, and it became even more linear.
Yeah.
And then it's like I feel like the essence of Resident Evil just kind of like slowly got swept under the rug. I think the Resident Evil 2 remake like really improved over RE2 in terms of like level design.
One thing that was cool was in original 2, you only see Mr. X in a couple hallways. Where in this one, granted, there's safe spots, and like once you watch speed running a little bit, you know how to make it so it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I just feel like that, like when I first played 2 Remake, that was pretty scary.
You're scared of
He
the
was
X.
he's just there, and I didn't know how to make him go away.
Basically, he'll just slap you once, and then you just keep running. And it's like that's
Right.
pretty much the only time it really matters is if you're playing like Nightmare difficulty, which I don't like. That's the only versions Nightmare difficulty is available on in the original 2 is the Source Next version, which is the PC version, and the Dreamcast version. So in other words, nobody has fucking played
Right.
Nightmare mode.
No, I never have.
Like I feel like even normal on Resident Evil 2 Remake is like way harder than normal
Yeah.
in the original 2, which I really like because I think I have a fundamental belief that survival horror like should be difficult.
Right.
Because if it's not difficult, it's just I don't know. Like I don't feel scared of things. If I know everything's gonna be easy, I just can't get scared. That's how I don't know. That's probably not a popular opinion, but that's just how I feel about
I agree with
things.
that. Because like even on normal mode in original 2, like I'll beat the game and I have hundreds of bullets.
Yeah, that's why.
Where like it should be like, do you want to pick up health
Yeah.
and be safe from your next hit, or do you want to shoot something? You know, you have to choose.
Yeah, that's where I think real horror comes into play in
Right.
video games is when you have a decision and then you have anxiety over like, did I make the right call?
Right.
And then I think Resident Evil Remake does that beautifully with the addition of Crimson Heads. Because now
Yes.
when you kill a zombie, it's like you have another decision to make. Because it's like, do I actually go back and do I burn this thing? Or do I make the decision to carry a lighter on me all the time to burn zombies that I happen to kill on the way, which takes up inventory space.
And you can only do that so many times. So you have
Yeah.
to like pick. Yeah, obviously the murder hallway you have to do, but I always burn the bodies there because you're going to run through there so many times. It's worth it to me.
Even if you get good at Resident Evil Remake, the game still like sprinkles in zombies that are already dead. So even if you think you're a pro big dick gamer, you still have to make the decision to burn these zombies. And if you don't, then obviously you're going to have to deal with Crimson Heads later, even if you're trying to avoid as much combat as possible.
When 3 came out, it felt like an expansion of 2.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like a graphical update, and it didn't seem like a story update. It just seemed like it was awesome. It's like, oh, you're Jill again, and Jill's awesome. You're this badass chick, and it's just there's this big thing after you, and that was like the end of the story. I don't know. It
That's
didn't
great,
seem very.
though.
And you're going back to the same police station you were in 2. It just
Well, the interesting thing about 3 is that it originally wasn't supposed to be Resident Evil 3.
right.
It was supposed to just be Resident Evil Nemesis. But then, I think I think a similar thing happened with. Bud, hello.
Code Veronica.
Code Veronica was originally supposed to
3.
be the 3.
Was it the PlayStation 2's release, or was it something more legal where they had to make a game to come out for the original PlayStation?
I'm not sure because Code Veronica was a Dreamcast game. I don't know if like they were making Code Veronica and it was going to be a Dreamcast game, and they were like, "Oh shit, nobody's buying a Dreamcast. Let's just make Resident Evil 3 Nemesis because that's on a system that everybody has." I'm glad things ended up the way they did because I think Code Veronica would have been really just kind of is like the real 3.
Code Veronica was weird.
Out of all the games in the series, Resident Evil 8 reminds me the most of Code Veronica.
Really?
Just out of the general weirdness and wackiness of it all. Steve is very...
Wait, don't shoot.
The other thing I remember is him dying, which I thought was hilarious.
He turns into the Hulk and he chases you with an axe, and then he changes back and he's dead. And it's good because he has red hair. He should die. But...
It's funny to me that they thought that character was like people were going to care that he died. And then RE4 happened, which is interesting because the beginning of RE4 is just, hey guys, Umbrella's gone. I want to know like the reasoning for why they just swept Umbrella under the rug. Because Code Veronica ended on like a super big cliffhanger. It's badass. You're with Claire, you're with Chris, you're going to kill Umbrella, you're in an airplane. And then RE4 is just like,
All right, so 1 ends, the mansion and the lab blow up.
Yeah.
2 ends, Leon looks to the 2 girls. He's like, we have to go get Umbrella. And then like the bass riff comes in.
Yeah, sick.
I don't even remember how 3 ends.
Jill kills Nemesis and then...
You want stars? I'll show you stars. And then gets him with the Magnum. Hell yeah, dude.
RE3 has a lot of great moments. I feel like every Resident Evil ending is just, hey, let's go get Umbrella.
We need to go get Umbrella in Europe. And then like 4, Leon doesn't care. He survived 2 and then he gets trained and he's a huge badass. He's kind of a bitch in 2, but
the reason I like him in 2 is because he's like naive but determined.
Yeah.
You can tell he wants to do the right thing. And then 4 is just like
he's not scared at all.
No, yeah, it's great.
He's been abducted. He's trying to go get the president's daughter who wants to have sex with him, and he's abducted by some Spaniards with pitchforks, and they shoot an alien thing into his neck, and he's just like, well, time to kick everyone's ass.
It's like every scene in RE4 is just like it's almost like schoolyard bickering. It's not just schlock. That's the beauty of RE4. It's like I think the original like script was really like almost Resident Evil 1 tier, like terrible. Yeah, but I think the English localization of RE4 is like why it's like legendary, because I think someone did like a comparison scene of like the intro of the intro after the chainsaw fight of like the Japanese script versus the English script of RE4, and like where Leon goes, oh, where's everybody going? Bingo. He in the Japanese version he doesn't say that. He just says, where's everybody going? A lot of personality was added just by the English localizers just looking at the script and being like, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
Been ported about 17 million times.
Yes.
It's like Skyrim. It was GameCube, then it was PS2, and it's Wii, and it's Xbox 360, it's Xbox One, it's PS3, PS4, PS2.
There's a very good reason for that. It's because everyone will always want more RE4.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it feels way better than even like most shooters made today. I feel like a lot of people say RE4 was kind of like the framework for like third-person shooters like Gears of War. I think Resident Evil 4 does a lot of things better, despite on a surface level being like a lot of people say, oh, in RE4 you can only stand still and shoot at the same time. I think having you move at the same time while shooting gets rid of the impact of your shots.
Right.
Like when you have to, like if you're at a shooting range, you're not walking around and shooting magnums. You're sitting still because the power of that thing requires you to stand still, or else you're fucked. So I feel like RE4 is actually the other thing about RE4 that I love is the laser reticle. I think that's so much better than just having 4 lines on a screen. It's fine, it's functional, but I think it's kind of boring and just not very cool. And RE4, the other reason why it's great, the laser reticle is great, is because it has fantastic function too. Because when you're aiming, you can always tell if you're aiming at something you can hit. Have you played any shooters that you think like have improved upon RE4, like at all in meaningful ways?
No.
Because I feel like in just about every single way, RE4 outdoes like the upgrade system. I don't think any shooter has outdone RE4. The attaché.
I love that inventory management.
Yes, the inventory management in RE4 is perfect. Function is fantastic. It has both form and function somehow. The more decisions you have, generally speaking, the more engaged you are, the more you give a shit. And that is going to make you have more fun when you're actually paying attention to a game. And no other game has been able to replicate that. No other game asks you to give a shit about like how your inventory, like RE5 just gets rid of that and just has like the standard like, oh, you press up and down on your D-pad to select your weapons.
But like towards the end of the game, 2 of your spaces was your assault vest and your bulletproof vest. So like if you had a healing item and then bullets for your main gun, it's like you really don't have much of an inventory, you know?
Yeah.
You have to do, like if you're playing single player, you have to swap items with Sheva, give her stuff you don't want, and then like basically use her as a mule plus a gun.
Yeah, which I mean that's a type of inventory management. Like which I just think it's like it's worse than 4.
Yeah,
and that's
it is.
ultimately like what my opinion of RE5 is. It's just like everything you compare to 4 is just as worse.
I thought it was interesting to have a co-op play through with a friend. But
Yeah,
that was
that's-
literally that was it.
Yeah.
Mercenaries was good. But other than that, the story wasn't.
See, I think the difference between you and me is that I don't give a single fuck about the stories. So you're telling me like stuff that happened in these games that I've played so many times, and I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Because I don't know. I watch Resident Evil to laugh at goofy cutscenes. I don't know. I just want to play good games.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty is
That's your game.
It's really a masterpiece.